Alright, so in this tutorial we are going to continue working on our processing code using the Android Processing IDE to create our profile. So to get started, we'll open up our Android Processing IDE, and if you remember last time, where in the previous tutorials we set up our background, we colored that, we also drew ellipses along the left side of the border. They actually look like kind of half circles bordering the left side of the screen, and then we also created a large box, kind of like a frame, and that's where we'll continue our code to be drawn inside that box, and we also drew a line inside the box. Now, when you opened your Android Processing IDE, if it did not open directly to the code you were working on last time, you can find that just by going up to the Android Processing IDE menu on the left hand corner and clicking on Sketches, and you should see your processing file right under there. So let's go ahead and get the rest of our code in here that we want to continue working on today. I have a few more things with the shapes that I want to show you all. So we'll go over to our Google Drive link, which you can go back and open that link through the email, or if you didn't close out the tab, it should still be open in your web browser. So that's all I'm doing. And you can go ahead and click on the week 2 folder, so now we'll get our code from week 2, since that's where we're in now, and the first file you'll see says tutorial 3. So we'll go ahead and download that, and once it's downloaded we can go ahead and open it up, and that'll open in our text editor. So the really new thing we're going to talk about this tutorial is going to be color. So you see this is new for tutorial 3 because we will have to begin defining the colors we want to write with or draw with each time we draw something new. But initially I want to continue with the shapes and just show you guys a couple of other shapes that we didn't get to in the last tutorial, being again the rectangle and also the point. So I'm going to just grab this beginning part of the tutorial 3, and you'll see here up to the color. We'll do the color in a minute. I just want to grab this part first so you guys can kind of see piece by piece the changes that we're making. And so again, just like in the previous tutorials, we just highlighted and copied that code, and then held our finger down here in the IDE to go ahead and paste that piece of code. And so just to talk about this new piece of code that we've gotten in here, the function that we haven't spoke about yet is the point. And so the point is basically when you talk about a point function in math, it's defined by an x and y coordinate, and that's where the point will be located. So we are going to, and I believe previously we did speak about the for loop. So we are using this for loop, and we are going to border our box, our frame that we created, and we're dividing by 40. And so we'll continue this pattern of this code inside here that we're going to execute throughout the box frame. We'll do it for a number of iterations from 0 up through that value of the box height divided by 40, and that's because that is going to be the height of our box height, the value 40. So you'll see here each time we'll move down 12 units, and we will draw a rectangle, and so it'll be indented a little bit from the box's edge, and this will be the y coordinate. And so that's why each time we'll move it down, so we can draw a new one moving down the y coordinate. And of course this is our x coordinate. You remember this is our syntax for our rectangle function. And then this is the width and this is the height. And then we will also at the same time, so again, for each iteration, we're going to draw a point. And so this will be the x coordinate. So we're actually going to draw this point outside the box, where this one will be inside the box, so to the right of the box start, and this one will be 5 units to the left of the box start. And we'll draw it at the same position in the y-axis going down. We're also going to draw rectangles on the, so this is that first block of code inside the for loop gives us rectangles on the left side, and these points that are located outside of the box are on the left side as well. So then we'll have another for loop which will do the same amount of iterations. So basically we should have the same border inside the box on the left side as well as on the right side. So we're just positioning this as far as on the x coordinate all the way to the right side of our box. And so as you can imagine, this is where our box starts plus our box width, and then we'll just move it to the inside of that. So again, as I had mentioned before, you may want to kind of make a visual drawing or just a sketch by hand so that you can get an idea of where you want to position these things on your canvas. So let's run the code and take a look so that we can see the result. And again, I encourage you all to change the positions or change the values of these functions so then you can see the types of changes that are being made. And we'll install the program, and we use that play button at the top to run it and open just like we did previously. And so now you can see on both the left and right side we have those rectangle border, rectangle going down the left and right side inside. And it's kind of hard to see, but I'm sure once you run that code on your Android tablet you can see those points that are drawn to the right side of our big box frame. Okay. Pretty cool. So moving right along, now as I mentioned in this tutorial, the new thing that we're going to learn is about color. And when I showed you the sample code for this tutorial, as I mentioned, we are going to have to begin defining our stroke and fill, basically the color we want to draw with and fill with for everything that we draw now. So let's go ahead and first grab that piece that I showed you so that we can make sure we explicitly define the color, the fill and stroke for what we've already drawn. Now we didn't define it before, and that's because the stroke default is black and the fill default is white. So although we're putting that code in here, that's why we initially didn't have to do that, because that is the default. Now that we're going to be changing the colors, we still want to keep what we originally drew in the default, that same color. So that's why we're explicitly writing that. So this is kind of a shorthand syntax for the stroke and the fill, where you can just use one value for either one. And so 0 refers to black and 255 refers to white. And any value in between there, when you're going from, you can just kind of picture a line, and with black 0 being the darkest and 255 being the whitest. And so that's kind of a scale. You can use any value in between there, which will kind of give you a gray shade, just depending on if it's a lower number, it'll be darker, and if it's a higher number, closer to 255, it'll be a lighter color, lighter shade of gray. So let's go ahead and grab the rest of that color code, which is what we'll really be working with. So we'll go back to our text editor, and you see there down there under the tutorial 3, the new code, I wrote a comment color. So anytime you write 2 backslashes, it's a comment, and which means that it's not read by the IDE when it builds the code. So that's why those pieces are not shown in our profile, all of this text that like color and this website, you won't see it, and that's why it's in gray, because it's a comment just for us, our use and reference throughout writing our code, but isn't actually executed and shown when your code is ran. Now, as I mentioned, we do have to explicitly now write the color code, what color we want to be drawing with, because this, as I mentioned in, I believe, the first tutorial, this draw function loops around. So if we did not, it continually runs. So if we did not explicitly define the color we just did, the black and white default, then after we run this new code, all that other stuff would be the new color that we wrote when it goes to rerun and redraw. And so that's why we did that. And then, as I mentioned also in the first tutorial, the setup function only runs once. And so that's why we draw the background there. Now, the syntax for colors in general in processing is RGB, which is red, green, and blue. So this is your red value, your green value, and your blue value, and it kind of mixes each of those values together to produce the color that you're looking for. And again, the stroke is the outline that you're drawing with, and the fill is the kind of the fill that shape will be filled with. And using this RGB is kind of a more precise way to get a specific color that you're looking for, where when I showed you before with just the one value, as we did with the black and white, that's kind of just a gray scale. To be able to use it in a shorthand. I want to show you all this website, so that way if you have a particular color that you have in mind that you want to use, you can actually get the values here for that specific color. So let's go ahead and take a look at that before we continue down with the code. Okay, so here we are on the site that I posted in the tutorial outline as well as commented in the code. And as you can see, you have your grayscale RGB values here. And as I mentioned, in processing, we're using RGB values. So it would have to be a value like this in this format, in this syntax. Now, the color picker is a great resource, and you can go on here and select any color you like. And when you click on it, it gives you the RGB value. So whatever color you're looking for, you can click on there and grab that RGB value. And that way you can have a color that you really like and be able to use that throughout your portfolio or your profile, or in different areas, pick different colors, and you have that available to you. So coming back over to the code, this next portion really is nothing different than what we did in the previous tutorials, except that we drew those ellipses on the left side of the screen, and this time we're going to draw them on the right side. So I basically took the same format we did in previous tutorials and used my right variable instead to reference where I want to draw them at. And before drawing, so anytime before drawing is when you would change your color. Whatever color you've changed to before drawing it is the color that it will be drawn in. So I changed the stroke to red and the fill to green. So let's take a look at what this code looks like now when we run it. We'll hit that play button and again install. And open. And as you can see, we have the same border as we previously drew on the left side, we now have on the right side, but our stroke that we outlined with is red, and the fill that we colored in our ellipses or half circles with are green.